Hey everyone, my name is Mike, and welcome to Sights to See. On this episode, we'll be traveling to the city of Dublin to celebrate St. Patrick's Day as part one of our larger trip through Ireland. Get ready everyone, because this was a wild ride, and we had an absolute blast. Enjoy! Our arrival in Dublin was met with the city decked out for the holiday. The airport, the buildings, the people, everyone was in full preparation mode for the thing we were all here for, St. Patrick's Day. The parade was just a few days away. It was going to be massive. As we made our way into different parts of the city, it was so cool to see how much Ireland really leans into the holiday, making us feel right at home. Speaking of home, we were staying in the Blooms Hotel, right in the heart of downtown. Though the service left something to be desired, the room was actually really nice. Hey guys, we're here in Ireland. Super excited. We're going to show you a little bit about from our balcony where we're at, and come on out. So we flew in today. Now we're here in Dublin, got in this morning, even had time for a nap. So we are in preparation to go out for the evening, get some food in us, and start enjoying the city. It was kind of quiet earlier, but the streets are starting to pick up. And if you take a look down here, you can see everybody's getting out and starting to enjoy the night. It's only about 9 o'clock right now, but everybody's starting to come out and get into the spirit of things. So they actually celebrate the entire weekend down here for St. Patrick's Day. Sunday's going to be the big night, so we're excited about that, and the St. Patrick's Day parade. And so we've got like 4 nights of shenanigans to get into. We're really excited about that, and happy to share this whole experience with you guys too.
I guess that's just this whole area is the Temple District. But I gotta eat some food.
We were surprised at the variety of restaurants, all within a few city blocks. This would be exactly what we needed to survive the long nights of drinking ahead. The Temple Bar District is the place to be for out-of-towners, and we found that every bar was filled to the brim with partiers from all over the world. There are 500,000 people who live in Dublin, but that number nearly triples during the holiday. Think Mardi Gras, but with a different accent. Most locals will recommend going north, away from downtown, to find a quiet spot, but we finally managed to pull off the impossible, got ourselves a few drinks, and settled in for the night. The next morning, we scarfed down some breakfast and headed out to explore. Our first stop was Trinity College. Founded in 1592, it is Ireland's oldest surviving university and houses just under 17,000 undergraduate and graduate students each year. The campus is also home to the Long Library, where the Book of Kells is held. Visitation is by appointment only, so get there early if you want to beat the crowds. Wandering out into the city once more, we found a lush, green area in the middle of everything, and of course, we had to investigate. We'd stumbled into St. Stephen's Green Park, commemorating the battle for Irish independence that took place here in Easter of 1916. Featuring monuments and memorials to the fallen, this beautiful park is now filled with flowers and ponds, with people milling around with their pets, enjoying the ducks and geese, and everyone gathered here to enjoy a moment's peace. But as the rain started rolling in, we decided it would be best to head on back so we could be ready for evening.
Now I'm really glad I wore my rain boots today.
Night 2 in Dublin was where the city really started to shine. With the big holiday only one day away, the whole city was lit up green with pride. The city had even thrown up a small amusement park during the day, and you know we had to see what that was all about. Pretty standard fare. Several rides and food kiosks that you'd recognize, but the thing I loved the most was watching the swinging rides careen out over the river. The whole place was filled with teenagers and parents, however, so we thought it best to move along to where the adults play, and that meant more beer. The city was somehow even more packed than the night before, but we were determined to have a good time, and so was everyone else it seemed. They say that some 13 million pints of Guinness will be gulped down around the world during this holiday, and I'm pretty sure that at least half of it is here. Thankfully, we found a few places that were only moderately crowded and blended in nicely as we drank the night away. The sun rose a lot sooner the next day, but we'd made it. St. Patrick's Day was finally here. It was a short walk from our hotel to the parade route, and along the way, we saw no shortage of people, locals and tourists dressed for the occasion. St. Patrick's is a huge deal for most of the people in Ireland. A lot of the locals we spoke to compared it more to the 4th of July in terms of dressing up with patriotic pride. Thousands of people lined the streets next to us, while thousands more continued on either side. Windows and balconies were filled with onlookers. Everyone else in the country was ready, and we are too. So sit back, relax, because it's time for the St. Patrick's Day Parade 2019. With the main event complete, we were free to continue exploring Dublin. Christchurch Cathedral was just down the road, so we stopped over to admire the oldest cathedral in Ireland, founded originally in the year 1030. The little remains of the original church, the crypts housed below date back to the first time it was rebuilt, sometime around 1180. It's been restored several more times since and is now open to the public for touring. Castles and churches were everywhere around us, each just as impressive as the last. But the thing that really stuck with us was just how much history there was here compared to back home. Some of our oldest sites here in Texas date back to the 1800s, but here we were looking at sites doubling, even tripling that age. But the city didn't feel old, it felt alive. Crowds were milling around the streets in celebration, music was playing around every corner, and we were enjoying the show the city puts on every year for the holiday. Around that time, we found ourselves near the National Museums of Ireland, which we noticed were both open and free, so we stepped inside to see what was going on. First up, the National History Museum houses over 2 million specimens, some of which are displayed as local animals to Ireland, and the second section holds mammals, birds, and invertebrates from all over the world. We were stunned by the sheer size of it all, but the way that everything was arranged was very old school compared to museums we were used to. These cabinet-based presentations were how most museums operated in the early 1900s. This museum has chosen to keep that look, rather than going with the sprawling geographical presentations found here in the States. Still, it was an incredible collection that was not to be missed. The National Museum, however, was a much more focused look at prehistoric, Viking, and medieval Ireland itself. Artifacts from all over the country have been brought here for display. And this place is home to some of the most valuable national and secular treasures in the country, including items belonging to St. Patrick himself. You'll also find the mysterious Bog Bodies Research Project. The Bog Bodies are a series of incredibly well-preserved corpses, each dating back to around 400 BC. Mummified by the surrounding peat bogs, scientists have studied every detail of the hair, fingernails, wounds, and sometimes even jewelry found on these bodies. Seeing all that made us feel a bit parched though. So our next stop was the Guinness Factory, to learn all about how this ebony nectar takes shape.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're all very welcome to the Guinness Storehouse today. Just so you know,
Jesus, this is it, baby. Home of my favorite beer.
The Guinness tour starts out by showing you the special ingredients of their beer. 100,000 tons of barley are used every year to create enough Guinness to send around the world, and giant vats of the stuff are on display to play around in. Specially grown hops are shown off in cases that extend way into the second floor, as these plants can grow to upwards of 15 feet high. But the crown jewel of the whole operation was Arthur's yeast. Germinated from the original batch, a tiny bit of this goopy stuff goes into each run of beer. But the coolest display was probably the giant waterfall to show off the spring water siphoned in from Wicklow Mountains. So important was this water to the recipe that Arthur Guinness wrote provisions for it into the original lease back in 1759. Next up was the roasting station, where they described the process of roasting the barley to 232 degrees centigrade to bring out the natural caramel and chocolate flavors the beer is most known for. Then comes fermentation, where ground barley is made into wort and combined with yeast and an explosion of flavor. Finally, with the induction of over 30 million tiny bubbles, the Guinness is given the trademark smoothness and creamy head. The last stop of the tour is at the top of the tower, where a free pint of the freshest, most flavorful beer is given out to anyone who makes it up there.
Yes, freshest pint of Guinness I've ever had. Like laying on a pillow of beer.
One last night of partying rounded out our time here in Dublin. With it still being St. Patrick's Day, everyone was in total party mode. It was nuts. After spending the morning in recovery, we finally left the city to start the rest of our trip around the country. Newgrange was our first destination, but you can jump over there right now to continue the adventure. Links are in the description below. But before we go, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you back here soon for part 2 of our journey. But until then, travel safe and have a great week.